Chapter 3. The coffee in my mug had gone cold 3 hours ago. It had that nasty, oily film on top, but I drank it anyway. I needed the caffeine. My brain felt like it was stuffed with cotton, and my eyelids were heavy, like someone had glued tiny weights to my lashes. It was 11:45 p.m. My apartment looked like the cockpit of a crashed spaceship. The only light came from the 3 computer monitors on my desk. Their blue glow spilled over the empty takeout boxes, the tangle of black cables, and the soundproofing foam wedges I'd glued to almost every surface. And then there was the wall. I looked to my left. The contact microphone was still there, taped to the beige plaster of the shared wall like a medical sensor. The wire snaked across the floor to my audio interface. For the last 4 hours, the green line on my recording software had been flat, dead silence. "Come on," I muttered, my voice raspy. "Do something." I was supposed to be working. I had a deadline. A law firm in downtown had sent me a 4-hour audio file of a deposition, some boring lawsuit about a construction company and bad concrete. I needed to type every word by tomorrow morning if I wanted to make rent, and I really needed to make rent. This apartment was the only place in the city I could afford that had thick enough walls to keep the street noise out. Usually. I rubbed my face hard, trying to wake up. The silence from Unit 4C was worse than the noise. It was a waiting game. I knew he was in there. I had seen the footprint. I had heard the scratching. Maybe he left, a hopeful voice in my head whispered. Maybe Russo scared him off. Yeah, right, the logical part of my brain answered. And maybe Santa Claus is real. I put my headphones on, not the ones connected to the wall mic. I left that recording in the background. My working headset. I needed to focus. I hit play on the law firm's audio file. "State your name for the record," a lawyer's voice buzzed in my ears. "Arthur P. Henderson," a tired man replied. My fingers found the home row on my keyboard. It was a mechanical keyboard, the kind gamers use. I liked it because the keys were heavy. They made a solid, satisfying clack when I pressed them. It was a rhythm I controlled. Clack, 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 clack. I started typing, Arthur P. Henderson. I paused to take a sip of the gross coffee. Clack, 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 clack. I froze. The cup stopped halfway to my mouth. The sound hadn't come from my keyboard. My hands were in the air, holding the mug. The sound had come from the wall. I slowly lowered the mug to the desk. I pulled one ear cup of my headphones back so I could hear the room. My heart started to thud against my ribs, a heavy, panic-induced beat. I stared at the blank beige wall. "Okay," I whispered. "You're typing too. Coincidence." I put my fingers back on the keys. I typed a random sentence from the audio file. The concrete was poured on the 5th of July. Clack, 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 space, clack. My typing filled the room. I stopped at the period. 1 second passed. 2 seconds passed. Clack, 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 space, clack. The sound echoed back from Unit 4C, the exact same speed, the exact same heaviness on the spacebar. It was the delay again, but something was wrong. Last night the delay was 3 seconds, then 2. Just now it was barely 2, maybe 1.5. He was getting faster. A cold sweat broke on the back of my neck. It felt like someone had opened a freezer door behind me. I wasn't just hearing a recording this time. The tone was different. It sounded physical. It sounded like someone was sitting at a desk on the other side of that drywall, hitting a physical keyboard with their own fingers, trying to match me. "You want a race?" I hissed at the wall. My anxiety was spiking, turning into that hot, prickly anger that always came with my misophonia. When someone chews gum loudly on the bus, I don't just get annoyed, I get furious. It feels like a personal attack. This was a declaration of war. I put my headphones on, not the ones connected to the wall mic. I left that recording in the background. My working headset. I needed to focus. I hit play on the law firm's audio file. I started typing faster. My fingers flew across the keys. I'm good at this. I can type 90 words a minute when I'm in the zone. Clack, clack, clack. From the other side of the wall. Clack, clack, clack. The delay was shrinking. I could feel it. It wasn't a second anymore. It was half a second, a split second. It was like an echo in a canyon, bouncing back almost instantly. I typed a complex legal term. Indemnification. Indemnification, the wall typed back. The delay was gone. I stopped. The wall stopped.
I hit the A key once. Clack. The wall hit back. Clack. Simultaneous, zero latency. My breath hitched in my throat. This was impossible. To mimic a sound instantly, you have to know it's coming. You have to predict it. Even a computer takes a few milliseconds to process audio and spit it back out. But this was perfectly synchronized. It felt like I was looking in a mirror, but for my ears. "Stop it!" I yelled, slamming my hands down on the desk. "Stop it!" the voice next door yelled. It wasn't an echo. We screamed it at the exact same time. The sound waves collided in the room. Because the frequencies were identical and the timing was perfect, it created a weird pressure in my ears, a phasing effect. The air in my room seemed to vibrate, humming with the energy of two identical voices screaming in unison. I scrambled backward, my chair wheels shrieking against the hardwood. "Shriek!" The chair next door shrieked. "Get out of my head!" I screamed. "Get out of my head!" the wall screamed. It was my voice. It was me. It was loud, terrified, and angry. It was coming from Unit 4C, but it felt like it was originating from inside my own throat. I grabbed the nearest thing, a heavy reference book on audio engineering, and hurled it at the wall. Thud. The book hit the plaster right next to the contact mic. Thud. Something heavy hit the wall from the other side, right at the same spot. The plaster cracked. A tiny spiderweb of white lines appeared around the microphone tape. I stood in the center of my room, chest heaving, gasping for air. The room was spinning. Silence returned, but it wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. It was the silence of a predator waiting for the prey to move. I looked at my hands. They were shaking so bad I couldn't make a fist. How could he know I was going to throw the book? How could he scream the same words at the same time? "He's predicting you," my brain whispered. "He's learned your script." I looked at the computer screen. The waveform of the scream was there, two massive red spikes perfectly aligned. I needed to get out. I needed to leave. I reached for my keys on the desk. But then, a new sound cut through the tension. It wasn't from the wall. It wasn't a mimicry. It was a soft swish, like paper sliding across the floor. It came from my front door. I froze. My eyes darted from the haunted wall to the hallway entrance. The heavy wooden door to my apartment was locked. The deadbolt was thrown. The dresser I had dragged over there last night was pushed back, but the lock was still engaged. I waited. Nothing else happened. I walked slowly toward the door, my socks sliding on the wood. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear the blood rushing in my ears like a tide. There, on the floor, lying on the welcome mat, was a piece of paper. It had been slid under the gap at the bottom of the door. I stared at it. It was a standard piece of white printer paper, face down. I crouched, my knees popping. I reached out and touched the corner of the sheet. It was warm. Not room temperature warm. It was warm, like it had just come out of a laser printer. The toner was still settling.